Hey, what's up? It's Michael. Coming from my platform, let's start something. Right off the rip, I'm going to tell you this is about a conversation. I'm giving you my point of view and my perspective on how things are, how things have been, and how things will be. First of all, I want to tell you about a little blue pill called Percocet or fentanyl. Fentanyl was created back in the 1950s by the government. It was a synthetic opiate, but it's 100 times more potent than morphine. So, if you know anything about opiates, opiates become very addictive after the third day of use. So let's say somebody puts you on Oxy 30s for every 6 hours for 3 days. By the time you get to that third day, you're no longer having the effect that you want to have, whether it be for pain or anything else, because your liver has produced it in such a way that you need more in order to maintain. 3 days, that's a fact. So I didn't know this until recently because it never was a point to study it and to understand it until I realized that we have an epidemic. Besides the pandemic, there are people who are dying every day from fentanyl abuse. And it's not necessarily their fault because the problem is it's really, really addictive. And within the first week, if somebody's smoking that shit on a regular basis, it's over. They're not going to stop until either the wheels fall off or the cuffs come on. I promise. They're not going to willingly walk into a rehab and go, you know what, my life sucks. I want to get off this crap. The problem is it becomes more than just about the high after that. Now it's about survival. Once the person realizes that they get really sick by not having it, they're going to realize that I'm never going to do this again. But when they do it again, they're never going to want to be sick again. So they're going to do it over and over and over again. So it's like a revolving door. After a long period of time, this person or persons are screwed. What I think about that is important because what I have seen versus family members, friends, and other people throughout time, when it comes to any kind of opiate, whether it be heroin, whether it be Oxycontins, Percocets, you name it, morphine, all of it, right? Every bit of it is very addictive. Now, doctors and hospitals will regulate that, but if they don't have a record of you having a problem with drugs, you're going to get the most of it. The people that have a record with drugs, they're not going to get the help that they need in order to manage their pain because they treat addicts and alcoholics like they're garbage, right? And the problem with that is I hate that. That's my problem. The perspective that people have and the ideas that people have about alcoholics and addicts are wrong. We are a nation that is free, right? And because of the freedoms that we have and the boundaries that we have, drugs come in here a lot. And when you are a kid, even growing up, your peers are the ones who are making the most influence on you. Unless you have two parents at home and you get whooping like you need to be in at a certain time, you need to have your chores done at a certain time, you need to have your homework done at a certain time, and you manage their phone, make sure who they're talking to, make sure where they're going. That's all important. If you're not doing that stuff, I guarantee your peers will have more influence on them than parents do. So that's a lesson learned. Go ahead and take that from me because it's a fact. Without that kind of guidance, you're going to end up paying more attention to your peers, and that's what I did. At first when I was young and my brother was living at home, I remember finding his bong and I poured it out and I got rid of it. Why? Because at that time our school was focused on DARE, DARE against drugs. So just say no, right? Ronald Reagan and Nancy Reagan's big idea, war against drugs, and so we had officers and helicopter land. It was all kind of cool, and I was like, man, I'm not going to do that stuff. But shortly afterwards, the influence that I had was my brother because I looked up to my brother. There was no dad around. I saw him very rare, and when I did, it was all about his alcohol and what he wanted to do. It wasn't about me. I was just along for the ride. So no fault against him. I don't blame him. He was an immature father and an alcoholic, and I accept the fact that he had an illness because he did. He didn't really realize what the illness was until he was older, until it was almost said and done, which is unfortunate for him. But, I love him, and he's probably resting in a good place, God rest his soul. Lost him about 4 years ago on August 29th. So, it was 3 months before I got out of prison last time. I was like, man, freaking bastard, he couldn't have waited until I got out. Anyways, that's just my thought on it. So, all right, going back to what I'm talking about, the fentanyl, right? The fentanyl is a powerful drug, but you would think, well, no big deal. You know what? Heroin kind of went to the wayside. Heroin's not popular anymore, but it's starting to be popular again. It's not as potent as fentanyl, and fentanyl kills people. It killed me, right? I was just on my regular painkillers about that time, and I got some monies from a settlement. Most of it they took went to my ex-wife of 30 years. I didn't have a problem with that because I was hoping that she would go and do the right thing. Still don't know if she did, and I don't want to know. She got the money, so I got about $4,400. And the first thing I did was I hired a taxi. I gave him $400 just to take me wherever I wanted to go because I needed clothes, I needed, food, all kinds of toiletries, stuff like that I didn't have because I was homeless. And the only thing I had was the clothes on my back, pretty much. And so we went through that process, had a really good, taxi driver, took me to a hotel that I'm familiar with, got out, and they wouldn't give me the room. And the reason why they wanted to give me the room is because I didn't have a credit card to put on file, so in case something happened to the room, they'll just charge the credit card. So I talked to a gentleman that I saw, just opened the door and said, "Hey man, can you help me? Do you have a car?" Because he was obviously staying there. And he said, "Yeah, I can help you." So I gave him cash, a little extra for helping me out. And then on the way out, I asked him, "Hey man, you got any foil?" Because this is the popular way to do fentanyl. You smoke it on a foil. And it's a little blue pill with an M on it. And people call them Percocets, people call them Blues. It's the most popular name of the Blues. And so I had a fistful that I just got. So I was in the room, he brought the foil. I remember taking 3 hits and waking up, I don't know how long later, with EMTs in the room, a guy I've never met, him saying to my face, "I had to narc you, bro, because you were done. I'm out of here." And I saw him, I knew him for about 10 minutes, really. And so he saved my life. And I'm blessed for that because, I could have been one of those, I could have been a statistic. And I don't want anybody in my community and around the world to be a statistic because this drug is too powerful. It's cheap. And, look, if I had $100, right, and I wanted to buy some pills and I knew the right person to go to, I can get them for at least 50 cents a piece or maybe $1. So that's almost, let's just say that's 100 pills. My habit's never been any bigger than maybe 6 or 7 pills a day. I knew people that were doing 30 a day. They needed to keep that habit. Mine was just trying to survive because if I did more than that, then I wouldn't have anything for the next day or I wouldn't have anything for the night or whatever. And it was more about just getting high. My legs were destroyed by a car 3 years ago. And I've had to walk on these legs with no help. I've had to take bicycles in pain every day, doing what I had to do to survive. Hustling, stealing, panhandling, whatever I had to do to eat, to shower, to bathe, to have clothes, and to have drugs. So it was more about survival for me than it was just that stupid drug. Now, that's what it's like for everybody on the streets who practice doing this drug. And I promise you, about 85 to 90% of people who are homeless are practicing using methamphetamines or blues or both. More than likely both because they're cheap. And nobody wants to, when they're out there, wants to think about their situation, that they're homeless, that they have no money, that they're dirty, that they need to eat, and all that other stuff. When you can be able to numb yourself with a powerful drug like fentanyl, and methamphetamines was my drug of choice, it took the back seat to fentanyl. And so I was no longer getting high on my drug of choice, I was just using fentanyl every day to survive. So the reason why I do what I do with Let's Start Something is starting the conversation within the community, because I know that they talk about it on the news and it's bad and it's this, but they don't talk about how they get it, where it comes from, how easy it is to be addicted. They don't talk about it with kids. They're not doing what they should be doing, in my opinion. And I may be wrong, and I hope I am. If I'm wrong, share that with me, and I would love to know what you're doing, and I'll blow you up all over Facebook and YouTube so you know that you're doing the right thing, and so we know that somebody's doing something about it. This problem is way too big for the local police to handle. It's way too big for the government to handle, and I don't even see the National Guard being able to handle this, because why? We're not at war against dope anymore. Dope is here to stay. There's nothing we can do about it. So no longer war against drugs. I think the perfect idea would be to legalize all of it so you can maintain the quantity and the quality of the drugs, so a person wouldn't get a pill like me, who's already been on narcotics for all day and 2 days, for a month long because of my pain and the last surgery I had, to take 3 hits of a fentanyl pill and die. Obviously that pill was a little bit better than I was used to, and it killed me. So with that, we can surely know that what's going on the streets with our kids, with our parents, with our loved ones, brother, sister, daughter, uncle, aunt, you name it. I believe in this country, and especially this community, by, let's say 2025, 2030, my opinion, and I could be wrong, I'm just guessing, but what if I told you that everybody you've ever met, everybody you will ever meet, and the society as a whole in this state will be affected by what's called fentanyl blue? You may think I'm crazy, but I guarantee you I'm not. So the problem is we need to get the information out there. So whether we can stop it or not doesn't matter. But what we have to do is be able to help the people that have the problem or will have the problem. Whether it be your brother, your uncle, your dad, your mom. Remember, I'm going through the whole gamut here. What's important is being able to handle it in an appropriate manner. I've seen things that work and I've seen things that doesn't work. I think the most important thing is to educate the individual that you're wanting to help. Once that person is clean enough and willing enough to look at their situation and go, I'm screwed. There's a gray area when it comes to enabling, right? Some people say, I'm enabled, I'm not. My mother doesn't enable me to do what I do. In fact, she doesn't want to have anything to do with me if she knows that I'm high, my sister included. My brother's a little bit more understanding because he is a dope fiend, just like I am. My mother and my mom were never dope fiends, and they've had to deal with dope fiends most of their adult life, considering my brother who's passed, my sister who's passed, my brother who is not in very good shape at the moment, but trying his ass off to do the right thing. He's a good man, and I love him. That they've all had to deal with that in one way or another. I being the worst, because I'll go 6-7 years and be clean, things look good, next thing you know I'm right to the bottom. And the reason for that is because I made bad choices. I hurt my back, say about 2008, end of 2008 towards 2009, about a year, it doesn't matter. I was working a very good job at a place called CRM, and unfortunately it says on Facebook that I'm working for them still. I'll have to fix that because I'm no longer working for them. I haven't worked for them in years. However, I did put down my skills and my work history because it's important. People should know who you are when they are trying to vet you and see if they want to be friends with you in the first place. I do the same thing when I'm looking for friends because my new nickname for Facebook is Fake Book, and the reason I call it Fake Book is most people on there are fake. I understand why they do what they do. They're just trying to hustle you for money, for your information, for your bank accounts, for you name it, catfishing they call it. I don't care. The matter of it is you got to be careful with your information. Be careful with your ID, your social security, your credit cards. Don't send photos that are particularly not of good rapport. Let's say your adult photos. Don't ever do that because people are trying to use that to blackmail you, and it pisses me off. I did it once and I regret it, and so I'll never do it again. I made that mistake. I got suckered in. I'm an old single now for 3 years. Of course, I was going to follow that rabbit down the rabbit hole, but I made that mistake, and I can admit that because I'm a big boy. However, I don't want anybody out there who sees these videos to make the same mistakes. So protect your identification, protect your ID, your social security number, your credit cards. Don't share photos of yourself that would incriminate you in any way, shape, or form, because people will try to blackmail you with them, even though they can't use that information to hurt you. Because once they have texted you and contacted you, not only is that become blackmail, but it's defamation of character. And the problem with that for them is that's a suable offense, and it's also illegal. It's a very legal terms. That phone that I have right there doesn't forget. It remembers everything I do, everything I fucking touch, everything I take pictures of, everything I accept, the people I talk to. Keeps a record of every bit of it. So when people come at me sideways, I just let them know, look, man, I wasn't born yesterday. I used to build computer systems. I understand how they work. I do understand how my phone works, and I'm thankful for that. And I back up everything to my accounts anyway. So whether it did or it didn't, I'll have it on my cloud, whether it be my Verizon cloud, my Hotmail or Google, all that. It all backs up to it, all of it. So I'm not worried too much about it. You can do the same. Protect yourself. But this conversation that we're having is about that. Just that conversation about things that can hurt you and things that you need to be aware of. Fentanyl blues can't hurt you. And even if you don't ever pick it up, it will hurt you in one way or another in the future, I promise. Whether it be your kids, your grandkids, your mom, your uncle, your brother. Look, I've seen grandmas sell this stuff on the street corner. I've seen grade school kids walk down the street going, I've got the blues. And you're like, what the? I'm not, he's fucking like 13, 14. Even when I was a kid, when the crack was really bad, I knew kids that were 10, 12, they were like 6 years younger than me. I was still a kid myself. But, these are babies smoking crack and selling crack on the street. And their daddies, that I knew very well were not in the mood to stop them because they were proud of them for helping them sell their dope. So that's ridiculous, right? But that's the way life is sometimes. We just get stupid and do dumb things. Poor kids. I hope they're not in prison. You know, a couple of them probably either are dead or in prison because of the way they live their life. However, I got out of that pretty quick when I went to prison the first time. I've never picked that shit up again. It's been over 30 years, and that was a personal choice. You know, even though I've tried it a few times since then, it never even bothered to have me by the guru like anything else. I found something that I enjoyed completely more that I could control a little bit better, which was methamphetamine. However, I don't like that drug either. I don't like being high. I don't like being on drugs. You know, everybody likes to get high, but nobody likes to be controlled by getting high. When something controls you, then you're not free anymore. And the only way to get freedom is to put it down. And the only way to put it down is to know that you're important, that you're loved, that you're not alone. That's the reason why I do these videos and talk about my life, is because people think they're alone. People think their story doesn't matter, and that's not true. I mean, your story does matter. My story matters. It's a matter of whether or not you're going to admit it. You know, can you admit it to yourself? Can you admit it to your family? Can you go, you know what? I don't have it all together, and I really need some help. How am I going to do that? Well, that's what I'm trying to do as well. There are places you can go, like, for instance, CBI is a good place. If you approach that with an open mind and an open heart, it could probably save your life. They have a decent program. The problem is if your insurance will pay for it. If your insurance won't pay for it, like they didn't pay for mine, when you hit to a certain roadblock, it's over. It's going to be up to you at that point to make it happen, because nobody else is going to do it for you. And that's the principle of what I do. Nobody's going to fix your problems but you. And almost 98% in my book you can fix. The rest of them are out of your control. That's why we have what's called the Serenity Prayer. It's God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. There are things that you have control over, and then there are things that you don't have control over. However, some people aren't even trying to be in control. They're just trying to do what they do every day, and they have a right to do that. Especially, people who are terminal. Who cares what they do? If they want to get high, or they're gonna die soon. Leave them alone. Let them do their thing. I hope they just have a relationship with God. That's what matters to me. But on the other side of things, this communication that we have back and forth when I do these videos and I share my experience is to let you know that you're not alone. And with you not being alone will help you understand that you can communicate with others. There are other cultures that don't believe in doing that. In fact, it's not good to cry. It's not good to talk about your problems, never open up. And at the end of the day, when work is over and you're all alone and you're frustrated, especially if you're a woman, I can see where those tears start to wallow up, because you don't have the support you need and you don't have a way to vent. So you hold that all up inside, and then you have to meet the status quo, and that's terrible. That's a terrible place to live. That's a terrible place to be. I've been there. I don't subscribe to that shit anymore. What I do subscribe to is faith, love, joy, loyalty, happiness, respect, honesty, dignity, love, giving. I probably said love. I'm still love in there again. Giving, being concerned. Some people don't care. I get that. Some people are just, psychopaths, and they really do have issues, and they really do need to be locked up, and they really do need to have medication. And I get that, but I'm not a psychologist or a therapist, and I can't tell them whether they need that or not. I'm just talking to people who have the same problems I do. My problem is that I've always gotten high and screwed up in the past because I have guilt and shame associated with everything I've ever done. I'm my own worst enemy. Nobody's pointing the finger at me saying you did this, you did that, except recently. And so I'm the one who picks on me, and how I do that is just say, fuck it, I did something wrong, now I'm just going to go do my thing. 3 out of the 4 big relapses I've had was that, and the last one I wasn't aware of because I was still just trying to deal with pain. But by the time I was all said and done and I got to this point, I realized, man, I just wasn't being honest with anybody. I wasn't being honest with myself. How could I, right? How could I admit that, man, I just don't feel welcome here. I don't feel, no, I'm good, Scotty, thank you. Scotty. Thanks, Scotty. He's offering me some applesauce. I'll eat applesauce once I have to. Anyways, where was I at? Okay, so yeah, in recent history with me says that I have a problem with guilt, shame, and all kinds of pain and remorse and resentment that I've held in my own lifetime. I got out of prison and I tried to do everything right. Of course, I always do everything right. I always, man, I'm the man. And that's the way it's always been. I've always been the go-getter, the guy that takes care of things, the breadwinner, all that. Been that my whole life, especially when I'm sober. However, this time was different because when I tried to be associated with my family, which I thought was my family, they're not my family anymore. It's been 5 years. My son's a man. He has a child. His girlfriend is ridiculous. I don't really want to get into her because that would seem like gossip or something like that. I think men shouldn't do that. But anyways, so with that, my girlfriend was there and she was open. I mean, we were on the same page almost right off the rip. I mean, it was like she could read my heart, she could read my mind. She admitted to me how she screwed up before I even mentioned anything. I wasn't even caring about it because what I cared for was I wanted her back. I wanted to do everything I could to take care of this woman. She's been my lifelong friend and I love her, right? Well, it wasn't shortly after that things started changing. It went from I love you to I need you. And I was taking care of her weed habit, spending about $50 a week, which I couldn't smoke weed, even though I would have liked to, but I was on probation or parole, whatever. And I couldn't do that stuff. And I think it was unfair that she would even ask me or do it in front of me, but you know what? I sucked it up and I dealt with it, right? It didn't even bother me. What did bother me is what her needs were. I wanted to make sure she was taken care of, but she was also playing mommy to a child who was very, very, can't think of it right now. My oldest daughter has the same thing as charismatic, and in a way she draws attention to herself. She controls the room just by being in it. She's a lovely little girl. I love her to death. She's the smartest thing I've ever seen for her age. She's going to be an awesome woman someday. I hope that they're raising her right somewhere out in Texas. But I don't know. Maybe someday I'll get to meet her again, and maybe someday I won't. She's my son's child, so it's really important to me, but right now I don't have any legal recourse because I never really adopted him by name. I always just took him as my own, and that he will always be my child, no matter what. Even told his real dad, come get him if you want him. If you think you want to step up to the Johns, come get him. And then when you get here, see what happens. I don't think he ever talked to him after that. But anyways, I don't think Will told him the same thing. Fuck you, I want nothing to do with you. Anyways, my son. Anyways, going past that, let's get to the point. The point was, I got home from prison. My thoughts of anger, guilt, remorse started creeping in when I realized that, man, again, when I got out, nothing was prepared for my release. What I mean by that is that, after being with this woman for a while, the first time I got out, wasn't prepared for me to come home, wasn't prepared to take or do her part or do, help me to do my part. I just had to be the only one to step up. And I didn't have a problem with that until I realized that she's changed. She's not the same person I thought about, but although she needed me and I could feel it so deep in her, and she was being really honest. She was trying her damnedest at first. And we got married, right? We were doing the right thing. But almost as certainly as we got married, days after that, she changed. I don't know what it was, what happened. Something I did, or something that she realized inside her that this is not what she wanted, that she made a mistake. Was she holding on to guilt, remorse herself, and not being honest? Because, see, that's what I was going through. That's what made me go do what I was doing, because I didn't know that I was making a mistake. I thought I was doing the right thing, even though part of me said, slow down, wait a minute, this might not be the direction you should go. I didn't listen to that. What I listened to is what I wanted. I wanted to be with her. I wanted my family back. I didn't care that it wasn't the wisest thing to do. I probably should have stayed at where I was at for about 12 months, focused more on my recovery of my life, and helped bring that together with hers. But every time that happens, she's over here in a situation that's desperate, and I want to come rescue. And that's the way it's always been with me and her. I've always loved her. I just wanted to rescue her. I wanted to take care of her. I loved her so much. But realizing that every time I tried to get close to her, she pushed me away, unknowingly, I think. When I was trying to express my love or being in love, at least I thought I was, She wouldn't let me go there. I don't know why. It's the weirdest freaking thing, but it's a fact. So moving forward after that, I wasn't honest with her about how I felt. I didn't even understand why I felt that way, but I can tell you that living with my son, who is now a man, we're sharing responsibility, right? I wasn't in a position to be the daddy anymore. I didn't feel I had the right because I was gone for 5 years. Even though I should have took up the mantle and said, look, dude, this is what you're going to do. This is what you're not going to do in my house. Until you're ready to pay the bills, forget it. And then soon after that, he was ready to help with the bills because I helped get him a job. From that, he felt comfortable and got himself another job and helped me get a job as well, regardless. And then there was the sister-in-law and her 2 children and sharing responsibility with her and sharing responsibility for her kids because I felt responsible for them as well. I love them both. So, and then there was my oldest daughter who had her child, and we're all trying to be a family, and we're all, we're power struggles back and forth, and nobody knows who's responsible until the shit hits the fan. It's like you. If you didn't do that, if you wouldn't have done that, if you would have said this, this wouldn't have happened. So where does the blame always fall? On me. And how do I take that? As if though it's the gospel, and it wasn't. It so was not true. What was true is that I didn't stand my ground and do what was right when I should have. And that's what ate me up inside. That's what caused me to relapse, and that's what caused our relationship to end because of my mistake of not knowing what to say and what to do about it. And of course, she saw early on, hey, this dude is headed right back towards the dragon, and he's gonna fuck me again. Man, I did. However, when you're married, things are different. When you're boyfriend and girlfriend, and there is no legal recourse. It's like, okay, fuck you, do what you got to do. Or when you're married, it's death do us part. At least that's what I thought I was in for. No, it was till I don't want you anymore. We part because you're not making me happy. You're not providing for my needs. All that, which is ridiculous. I mean, going back through history. I made many sacrifices and done whatever I had to do to make sure she was well and our kids were well, even when I was fucking up. But all that went bye-bye because she was angry and not getting what she wanted. Now, is that her fault? No. It's mine. It's mine. I had poor choice. I knew that I should have waited, and I didn't. And that caused us to have a huge breakup, and we haven't spoken for a long, long time. And she hates my guts. At least she thinks she does. She makes me out to be an evil, unscrupulous kind of man, and that's not who I am. Never been that dude, man. Never. I don't even get it. I mean, I know that I got stupid sometimes. The drugs made me do stupid stuff and say stupid shit. And I remember being woken up, being beat on because I couldn't stop flipping out or doing whatever I was doing because I was in psychosis from being on pills and methamphetamines. However, I was being treated like I was a scumbag, and that really pissed me off. That made me think, you know what, you really don't give a shit about me, and that's true, she didn't. But deep down, she's always loved me, and that's never going to change. I don't care who she's with. I don't care what she does. That's never going to change. Same with me. I love her too, and I will never stop loving her. However, I'm not in love with her, and I haven't been in a long, long time. Before we got married, even. Actually, when we were kids, I might have fell in love with her like for a brief moment. And I've always loved her. I always thought it was important to take care of her. There was something about her that was different. My heart called on me to do it, and it was more than just what was in my head. I made exceptions for her when we were teenagers. I told her the truth all the time. We broke up all the time because I couldn't keep my dick in my pants. So, for lack of a better term, I shouldn't have said that. We're on this camera right now, but I don't share this with kids, so it's okay. We're all adults. That's how it is when you're a teenager. You're a walking hormone, especially if you're a male, and that's what I was until I ran into my first wife. And I thought I wanted love and kids and happy this, happy that, because I wasn't getting along with anybody at home anymore, and I was wrong for that too. Life lesson, life learned. However, a lot of it had to do with drugs because I couldn't stand my own skin. I couldn't stand being in my own skin because I just couldn't be honest with myself. I just couldn't keep it real for an instant. Even though I was a good dude, I still couldn't love myself. I've learned in a traumatic way recently how to do that. been through a lot in the last 3 years. I wouldn't wish that on my worst freaking enemy. And even though I do have enemies, I promise you I would give them a kiss and a handout and a hand up before I would ever wish what I had to go through this last few years on them. Not a pity party, but I'm just telling you, most people have never gone through some of the shit I've had to go through. And, you know, there's a lot of scumbags out there that probably deserve it, but don't deserve it because they're human. That's the way I look at things now. I'm trying to look at it from not just a spiritual perspective, but a human perspective. Look at the world around you and how well we've come. Look at all the technology we have. Look at all the things that we have. And you know what? We haven't been able to save, haven't been able to make people live past 100 unless there was a miracle, even though we have modern science. We can get people to the moon, but we can't get people off drugs. Our focus is not where it should be as a human, as a society. Money's important, right? Infrastructure is important, your community is important, our city is important, we need to take care of it. How about this? I heard an idea that I've thought about before. We have empty buildings because of the pandemic now. Complete, wiped out business buildings. You could renovate those buildings at a fraction of the cost just to put people in there for a night, give them a clean shower, give them something to eat, and then educate them where they can go to find help if they're interested. And just keep that door open for them for all, you know, for as long as it needs to be until that person can get help. And be willing to go the extra mile if they need it. And that's what's important. I want to do the same thing. I'm developing ways to do that, and that's my focus. I want to help people. I don't want to have to go back to what I was doing, because what I was doing didn't work. You know, getting high and living on the streets is no life to live. Believe me, it sucks. I woke up, you know, if I had to wake up, if I ever got a chance to sleep, it was dreadful. I dreaded my life to the point where I would hope somebody would just shoot me and get it over with. Or maybe I would shoot a blast and somehow I wasn't going to wake up, but that just didn't happen. And I'm still here, so I'm going to do my best to make the most of my life for the rest of my life. And I don't care what anybody does, you can't stop me. It's not going to work. You want to catch me down the street and shoot me because you hate me for what people love me for, that's fine. For right now, I'm going to do whatever I can to help kids, to help families, to help friends, to help my community, figure out a way to get the information out about all this stuff and give people the opportunity to have that every day of their life, whether it be a hotline, a website, anything. I'm going to make it known, and I hope that my government will back me on this particular idea in the best way I know how to. It's just, I'm battling an old idea with a new approach. And this is why I do the videos. We're at like 32 minutes long. I can't help but just communicate on this level because this is what I'm all about. This is what I want to do. I take it very seriously every day of my life. I'm already in the process of developing a company for myself in the future, but it's not for me, it's for my community. It just so happens to going to be able to help me survive, pay ends meet, get a job, get a car, if I'm lucky. But I don't give a shit about any of that. Why? Because I know what it's like to have little to nothing to absolutely having everything I've ever wanted in life. And it wasn't enough for me because I wasn't being real. I've learned how to do that now and why I should do that now. Because it's going to keep me sober. That's how it's going to be. So at the end of the day, when you see this video and you understand whether you do what you do or you don't understand, remember something. Be honest, be caring, be loyal, have respect, remember your dignity, right? At the end of your life, what people are going to notice most is how many people show up to your funeral. Do you want to be the guy? You know, this may sound interesting to you. When I was in Tent City long ago, I was on the chain gang, and I was a chain gang trustee. I buried people in Oakfield that was forgotten about. These people were John Doe's. These people didn't have money to pay for their burial, but yet they were put in this cardboard box and we had to put them in the ground. I did it while I was on the chain gang. I also did it when I was a trustee. I buried a baby in a box this big and nobody showed up for the funeral. In my eye, that's the most painful thing in the world to see. No mother, no father show up for that child. Same thing with the adults. No brother, no sister, no parents, no friends. Now, I have brothers, sisters, and friends, and I have my mom and my sister, and I don't plan to die anytime soon. But at the end of my life, what you're going to notice most is who's standing there at the end. Who's wishing me goodbye? Whose life did I touch? Whose heart did I help fix? Remember, that's the most important thing. Your legacy was always going to be about your friendships, your loved ones, your family, all that. If you don't have any of that, then you didn't live a good life. It doesn't matter how much money you got, because you can't take it with you. I mean, if you're honest and you're a good man, you'll leave it to your kids or your family, or you'll learn how to spread it out and give it to the community in which it will help. That's the best thing you can do with your money at the end of your life. Whether I have money or not, my focus will always be on my community and the people at large. I've gotten to that point because I wrecked my life. I destroyed it in many different ways, and people helped me get there. But I'm owning my shit. I'm a fuck up a long time ago, and I need to get right. I'm doing that now, every day of my life. I want you to know that I care about you. We may never even meet. It might be just a text on the phone, which I hate. I mean, the one thing I thought was interesting that was on Facebook, what's the one thing that nobody does anymore that we should do? And I put talk on the phone, because we text. The problem with it is when you look at a text, you can take it out of context. Even if the grammar is perfect, you can still take it out of context. And I, for one, I'm lazy, and I talk to a lot of people every day, so I use voice to text, and sometimes it just comes out stupid. When I don't pay attention, I could send some of the wrongest fucking things, and that could just destroy a relationship right out the bat, so I gotta be really careful. So it's kind of funny, right? But I get annoyed that I can't talk to that person, or that person won't talk to me, or I can't get them over the video chat, and I can't, for the life of me, understand why people don't want to jump at the opportunity to say, hey, I'm not a fake person. I'm not here for your money. I'm just here for your friendship. I'm working at it. It's getting better. I'm getting wiser. I'm getting pretty close to the answers. But I do take risks, unnecessary risks, but the risks that I think are important. And that's because I love the community and everybody out there, even the dirtbags, even the people that just get at me for money every day, or even the young girls or older women that always get over me and say, hey, you want to hook up? I'm like, really? No, I can't hook up. I'm in a wheelchair. I don't have any money. I can't afford you. And they're like, why? Why can't you afford it? Can you just give me, how about 20 bucks? Really? You went from here to here real quick, and you want to meet me at the QT? Stupid. I feel sorry for these women. I feel sorry for our community, because nobody's helping them. You get at me and go, hey, Michael, I'm so impressed that you're still my friend when I just treated you badly this whole time, where I tried to hustle you for money, or I tried to make you think that all I wanted to do was sleep with you and all this other stuff. I get why people do it. Might be some of my loved ones who may do what they do, and I ain't putting them out on the street because I love them. However, we can do better. So I love you. My name is Michael Merriman. Let's start the conversation. The idea is to make a video of yourself or somebody else, do an interview of somebody who would like to tell their story, put it on Facebook, put it on YouTube, or send it to me, and I'll make sure your story gets told, and I will make you immortal. You could die tomorrow, and your video will go on living no matter what, whether I'm here or I'm not. I'll make you immortal. I'll make you famous, and so to speak. How am I going to do that? Because one day this thing is going to take a turn that I'm not even going to be able to handle. I'm going to have to get people to help me, because it's going to be overwhelming. And right now it is kind of overwhelming. I can't put my fucking phone down all day. From the moment I get up to the moment I go to bed, my phone won't shut the fuck up. And so it's a blessing that I've only had about 10 texts now since this conversation. I used to think when I saw the text go over the phone that somehow that blocked the video. I'm so happy that doesn't happen. That I realized that of course it's not doing that. That would be the dumbest thing that they would do, is give me a notification that I have a text or something like that while I'm making a video. So this is one of the longer ones that I've done. It's coming up on 38 minutes. Remember, I do love you. I don't care what anybody says, man. We can do this as a community. I don't have to know your name. If you want to do something crazy, but get black, put your hands on gloves, put a thing over your head, and start talking like you're a man, or if you're a man, start talking like you're a woman so you can hide who you are. I don't care. I want to hear your story. I want to know where you've been, what you've been doing, how you got there. Is it working or is it not? Please. Let's start something. Do a video, do something. Just get a hold of me, whatever. You don't understand. If you just want to chat, it's cool. I love you. Have a good night. Probably do this again in a few days. I'm really looking forward to some interviews. So I'm really tired of just doing this myself, because all this is about is you. And you can see early on in the beginning, I was having interviews with a lot of people, but where I'm at, I can't because of legal reasons. I probably can, but I choose not to out of respect. So do me a favor, pass this video on when you have it. Like it, share it, pass it on, right? It's important. God bless you. Have a good night. Is it still rolling? Again, look at my foot. I didn't shut it off. Oh well, so a blooper we get in the last 2 freaking videos. God bless. That is not my air tank, by the way. That is my foot. God bless you. Good night.